Mr. Speaker, I'm rising to speak against this bill.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, what this bill does is tie the hands of the governor in times when she most will be needed by the people of Hawaii to be able to act quickly and decisively. Instead, the bill says that the governor will have to stop in case of an emergency. The governor will have to stop, find, and declare through an emergency proclamation that tangible and measurable harm or damage has resulted. I mean, that would be obvious to anyone that's with common sense, which this bill lacks. That anyway, tangible and measurable harm or damage has resulted or is about to result as a consequence of the disaster, and that the disaster relief can't be achieved through legislation enacted in the next session or in a special session called by the governor. Well, I mean, that's just stupid. In my mind, when you have an emergency and you have a leader of this state that was elected by the people to be in charge and to be able to act in an emergency, we have no business tying her hands and saying she has to first create this proclamation and ask us for permission to be able to go ahead and act. I mean, it's just absolutely foolish. The other thing that is very disturbing about this, there are certain areas carved out where she's going to be allowed to act. But there's not the area where there's an emergency and the governor would need to, for example, transport time-sensitive medicine and supplies to the neighbor islands in a case where other planes are not flying and she would have to bring in the National Guard to do it. That's not one of the emergencies. The big problem about saying, well, wait a minute, we'll allow her to act when there are these 5 different things, but nothing else is included. That's pretty foolish because we won't have covered all of the emergencies. And when you look at the bill, you realize they aren't all covered. We may have a massive blackout, we may have bridge collapses, we may have massive sewage spills. All of these, we're then saying to the governor, those are not one of the categories where you can go ahead and use your emergency powers. You have to come back and ask us, issue a proclamation, bring us into special session, or if we're in the regular session, then come to us to say, may I? Well, that's no way to run a state. That's no way to keep our people safe. But the cruelest thing in this bill is, were this bill to pass and to stand, it shuts down the homeless shelters. We had quite a discussion a few weeks ago on this bill and the idea that the governor was not, the majority side, you all said, that the governor should not have treated homelessness as an emergency. Well, now you're really driving a nail into the coffin. You're shutting down the homeless shelters upon the enactment of this legislation. And not only is that cruel, I think it's reprehensible. Those shelters were put up by the governor to deal with an emergency situation. The Next Step shelters have helped people throughout our community that needed help, and they've given them dignity. And now the majority wants to shut them down, handcuff the governor, prevent her from being able to help the people of Hawaii immediately when there are emergencies, and to use her authority as the executive, the duly elected by overwhelming majority executive of our state. And you all now want to slap her down and prevent her from acting as the leader of our state. I believe you all should be ashamed.